All right, here we go. Question number 14 from our 0314 homework number 3 in MyLab Math, and the instructions say factor by grouping. So the reason that they specify factor by grouping is that there are 4 terms, and none of these terms, notice that all 4 terms do not have a common factor. Like, for example, the 14 doesn't have an x, so I can't take an x out of everybody. And the x to the third doesn't have a coefficient other than 1, so I'm not going to be able to factor out anything from all 4 terms. But there are 4 terms, and that's when you factor by grouping, factor by grouping. So the way that we group, we're going to group the first 2 together, and we're going to group the last 2 together. And then we're going to ask ourselves, what can I factor out of the first group? What do these first 2 terms have in common? Well, they have an x squared in common. If I take out the x squared, that's going to leave me with x plus 7. And I can check that real quick by doing the distributive property. X squared times x gives me x to the third back. X squared times 7 gives me 7x squared back. So that x squared is factored out correctly. Now to the second group, what can I factor out of negative 2x and negative 14? Well, obviously they both have a negative sign, so we're going to want to take the negative out. And 2 goes into 2 and 14. So we're going to factor out a negative 2. That's going to leave me with x plus 7. And here I can check that again by doing the distributive property. Negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 7 gives me negative 14. So this is not done. This is just the first step to factor by grouping. Now then, looking at these 2 pieces, these 2 things I've underlined in red, we can see that they both have an x plus 7 in common. When you factor by grouping, the stuff in the parentheses has to match. And if it doesn't, you either screwed it up or it won't factor by grouping, okay? So the next step is we're going to take this common factor, the x plus 7 that they have in common, and we're going to factor it out. We're going to take the x plus 7 away from each one of these pieces, and what will that leave me with? Well, that's going to leave me with x squared minus 2. And now that is factored completely using factor by grouping. And let's see if we're right. X plus 7 and x squared minus 2. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comment section below, or you can text me. And thanks for watching.